Knowledge and understanding simply aren't the same thing. You can know an awful lot about something in the sense of information and data and even routine skills, and yet not really understand it. Understanding goes beyond knowledge. It's knowledge plus, you might say. I guess one way to get at that is to focus on thinking with what you know. For instance, it's one thing to know, the law of supply and demand from economics, in the sense that you can recite it, define it, and so forth and so on. It's quite another thing to be able to think with it, to, let's say, look at the price of shoes and the price of designer shoes at your local store and ask, why does this cost this much? And what's going on when something gets popular and the price goes up, or it gets unpopular and the price goes down, or there's a lot of imports and the price goes down, and so forth? Can you analyze situations? Can you see the world through the lens of the law of supply and demand? Understanding is not about knowing alone, it's about thinking with what you know. When we talk about teaching for understanding, one of the things that always comes to mind for me is, a chronic problem with at least a lot of education. It's the problem I like to call aboutitis. It's a kind of a malady of a lot of education. We constantly ask young learners to learn about things. Information about the French Revolution, information about fractions, routines about how to manipulate fractions, the history of your nation, and so forth. And so, compliant as they often are, our young learners accumulate a lot of about-type information, aboutitis. But the thing is that understanding has much more to do with thinking with what you know, with being able to reason with it, apply it, project it, critique it, explain it, teach it to others, and so forth, than it has to do with a fund of knowledge. So, for teaching for understanding, the key move is to get beyond aboutitis. Not that the knowledge isn't important, it's certainly important as part of the picture, but if it's just the knowledge, you really don't have all that much because you can't do that much with it. Sometimes I like to use this image. Imagine a core of knowledge, and then imagine around it a kind of a halo, which is what you can do with that knowledge, how richly you can apply it, think with it, reason, and so forth. Well, for a fair amount of educational practice, it's mostly the core. You get a lot of information, and the halo is very thin around the core. Now, I don't want to throw away the core. It's important to know things, but I want to see a big halo around the core. So it's not aboutitis. It's being able to think with and through what you know.